They say justice can be blind, but it's also quite often deadly. Every year, thousands of convicted criminals face execution in countries worldwide, and some countries are far more likely to use capital punishment than others. Of the 2 billion people living on Earth as of 2018, over 1 billion live in a country that has carried out executions since 1990. In this video, we'll break down some of the death penalty methods around the globe used by ancient kings and rulers on death row and capital punishment in general. Execution by elephant was a method of capital punishment in South and Southeast Asia, particularly in India, where Asian elephants were used for crushing, dismembering, or torturing captives in public executions. The animals were trained to kill victims immediately or slowly torture them over a prolonged period. Most commonly employed by royalty, the elephants signify the ruler's power of life and death over his subjects and his ability to control wild animals. This practice was eventually suppressed by the European colonial powers that colonized the region in the 18th and 19th centuries. Another method was dismemberment, the act of cutting, ripping, tearing, pulling, wrenching, or otherwise disconnecting the limbs from a living or dead being. It was practiced upon human beings as a form of capital punishment. Also referred to as disruption, dismemberment could be brought about by chaining 4 horses to the condemned's arms and legs, thus making them pull him apart. The method of tying people to bent-down trees, which are then allowed to recoil, ripping the individual to pieces in the process, is, however, mentioned by several travelers to 19th century Persia. Getting executed. The typical way for the victim was being tied to the mouth of the cannon and then having the gun fired, which resulted in death. The prisoner is generally connected to a firearm, with the upper part of his back resting against the muzzle. When the gun is fired, the head is seen going straight into the air about 40 or 50 feet. The arms fly off right and left high up in the air and fall at 100 yards distance. The legs drop to the ground beneath the muzzle of the gun, and the body is blown away. Blowing from a gun was a reported means of execution as long ago as the 16th century and was used until the 20th century. A brutal, ritualist method of torture and execution that Nordic people allegedly practiced during the Viking Age was so gruesome that some scholars questioned whether it was even possible to perform on a human body. Certain types of Viking knives, swords, and spears may have been wielded for different parts of the blood eagle ritual. Victims were typically captured in battle. Captors would cut and open large flaps of skin and muscle from their living victim's back and then sever the ribs from the spine, opening them out to the sides to form wings. The torturer would then complete the ritual by pulling out the victim's intact lungs and laying them over the extended ribs. Electrocution is death or severe injury caused by an electric shock from electric current passing through the body. The word is derived from electro and execution, but it is also used for accidental death. The term electrocution was coined in 1889 in the US, just before the first use of the electric chair, and originally referred to only electrical execution and not other electrical deaths. However, since no English word was available for non-judicial deaths due to electric shock, the term electrocution eventually took over to describe all circumstances of electrical death from the new commercial electricity. Some people believe that the death penalty is a humane way to punish criminals, but others believe it is brutal and inhumane. No matter what your opinion is, there is no denying that death row is a place where only the worst of the worst go, and it is a place where nobody wants to end up.